Well, the time at 1 minute to 11. It is time to say good morning from Edgbaston. This is Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM, getting things started for the fourth day of the championship match between Warwickshire and Kent. And the main news is the fact that we are starting at all, because when we left you yesterday at 7 o'clock, it was on the understanding that we'd all be here at 11 o'clock this morning, but we weren't thinking that it was very likely there'd be any cricket, because the weather forecast at that point was suggesting that it would rain all day, and it did rain for some of the night and even a bit of this morning around this part of Birmingham, but it hasn't rained for a couple of hours, and as such the ground staff have got everything set and we are getting underway on time. So if you have clicked on our radio link through the BBC Sounds app or the BBC Sport website, or you've found us on the YouTube channel, whatever else, I thought, well, I'll just drop in and see if they're going to play. The answer is that we are, for now at least. And now the forecast that has gone all over the place in the last 24 hours is now suggesting that we probably will play throughout the day. And to that end, it is an intriguing situation in a game that does mean a lot to both teams in their current position, 7th and 8th out of a 10-team league in which the bottom two go down to the second division. We resume with Warwickshire 28 for 2, needing 325 in all after a very sticky session last night when they lost Alex Davis and to what became the final ball of the day, Chris Benjamin. Sam Hain, who made 99 in the first innings, he's going to come and face the remaining delivery from Matt Henry's over. And he's going to do that now, with Henry bowling, running in from the pavilion end, and Hain is scoring straight away, 4 down the leg side. It was on the line of leg stump, and Hain guided it to fine leg, glancing it carefully away for 4. So Warwickshire immediately trimmed their requirement to 293 more. As usual throughout the day, we're going to have updates for the BBC local radio station. The first one is those is coming shortly. Ben Watts from Radio Kent will join me in a few moments after he's done the same for his listeners. We'll hear from Nikki Chowdhury and Phil Britt on the commentary as we go. I hope that we'll hear from you too. Kent listeners have got the usual ways that you get in touch with Ben and the Radio Kent crew. If you want to drop me a line, you're welcome to do that to mike.taylor.02 at bbc.co.uk, mike.taylor.02 at bbc.co.uk. You can heckle at whatever length you like, and let me know how you see this game panning out and what the prospects are for both of these teams in the First Division as a result of this game. Warwickshire are away to Surrey next. They're on course to win fairly early today. So the champions from last season, if they do fail to make this target today, are going to be in need of 1 or 2 results in the closing stages of the season. Here comes the update for BBC Radio WM. This is Mike Taylor at Edgbaston, where, rather against the expectations of the forecast last night, the 4th day of the game between Warwickshire, the county champions, and Kent is getting started, with Warwickshire facing a demanding target, needing 325, are 32 for 2. They lost the 2 wickets in a very awkward session last night. Sam Hain has come in to join Dom Sibley and glanced the first ball of the day for 4 to slightly trim that target, but it's an important day for the county champions. These teams 7th and 8th in a 10-team league with 2 to be relegated. This is an important fixture. Warwickshire 35 for 2, the target 325. They picked up 3 runs from the first ball of Navdeep Saini's over, continuing his spell, or picking up from where he was last night from the Birmingham end, when he bowled 4 very rapid overs with quite a bit going wide of the off stump, but he induced an edge from Alex Davis that brought the first wicket. But his first ball today pushed through a gap at mid-off by Dom Sibley for 3 to bring Hain back on strike. With 3 slips, a gully and a leg slip, an attacking field as Saney runs from the Birmingham end on the pads of Hayne, and he picks up more runs here, probably another 4, turning it away through square leg and past the dive from Joe Denley and away into the hover cover for 4. So Warwickshire in almost Birmingham Bears T20 style, with 11 runs from the first 3 balls today, and there was a little bit on offer, to be fair, for Sibley with a ball that he could push through mid-off, and there's Saney's radar a bit off, because that was helped from outside the leg stump and just turned to the roll of the wrists by Hayne for 4 runs, 39 for 2. 325 is the number that Warwickshire are looking for. And Hayne with 8 from his first 2 deliveries. He's waiting again for Saney, a sprint to the crease, and this time he more than defends. He simply shows the maker's name and times that up to mid-off for another 4 runs. A beautiful stroke made to look almost effortless, but it was all in the timing. And another 4, and the scoreboard rattling round like a fruit machine. 43 for 2 after 4 balls today, and Warwickshire resumed on 25. And they're batting as if they've got an appointment for a late lunch. Square leg has gone back to the rope, which is a long way back on the leg side, with the bowling from the Birmingham end. Leg slip has come out, so already he's got rid of one of the close fielders. And here comes Saney, running in to bowl to Hayne, who this time does defend. And they haven't scored for the first time today. 15 from the first 4 balls today. Where have you been, Ben Watts? You missed it. You missed half of it.
It's been all going on, hasn't it?
without really, pushing the ball into the gaps.
Well, because of the pace of the bowler, all you have to do is get bat on ball, and because of the very aggressive field, there were plenty of gaps.
43 for 2. Saney hurtling in, and Hayne drives for another 4 through cover point. Bell Drummond is just at backward point, but it was guided wide of him and away to the short boundary in front of the Holly stand. The rope is in even from the front there, because there's a bit of a sort of AstroTurf track around the edge. They used to have the rope right out to the fence, but there's now probably 10 metres in from there. But that was whistling for 4 runs wherever the rope was.
Yeah, it's just been a bit over-pitched from the centre so far today. Needs to just drag his length back a bit.
47 for 2. And Hayne already 16, and this time he's guided it on the bounce to Bell Drummond, a shorter delivery. 15 from the first full over of the day. And if you've switched on 7 minutes late, then you've already missed 19 runs scored, with Warwickshire 47 for 2 and needing a further 278.
Well, that over's given hope that potentially all 3 results are possible here, because with that short boundary, 325 as a target is suddenly not looking impossible, especially with the forecast now not showing as much rain as we were perhaps expecting today. Kent still need those 8 more wickets, but 278 runs to win for Warwickshire, and you feel like this is a really key partnership between Dom Sibley and Sam Hayne, as Matt Henry from the pavilion end is bowling, beating the outside edge of Dom Sibley's bat with an away swinger. 3 slips and a gully point, a wideish mid-off and extra cover hybrid fielder, if you like, as well as similar on the other side at mid-on mid-wicket, and then Bell Drummond's out on the deep square leg boundary and sending down at long leg.
They're getting a second crack with the newish ball, of course. It's only the 10th, the 11th over.
Down the leg side, and there's an appeal for LBW. It's going to go for 4 leg byes in the end, as Sam Billings is unable to stop the ball, and boundaries coming very quickly for Warwickshire so far this morning. They've accelerated from 28 for 2 at the start to 51 for 2 in, well, less than 2 overs.
The line's been a little bit off, and the length has been a little bit off, and it hasn't had to be a lot.
Yeah, the length's been too full so far.
They've just taken what's on offer so far.
16 each for Hayne and for Sibley. This one's defended away by the former England opener out towards mid-wicket. Henry managing to get that LBW of Benjamin in the final over of play on day 3. After Senny's wicket of Alex Davis. Men to come after this: Rhodes, Mosley, Burgess. And then into the bowlers: Briggs, Brooks, Miles and Hannon Dalby as Henry bowls down the leg side. Billings takes a very good catch away to his left-hand side, but if it did trim anything, it was not a glove or part of the bat.
There was one similarly yesterday, wasn't there, off Sibley's trouser pocket, where they had a very loud appeal. And he made a big gesture of tapping his pocket like the old Asda advert that you're probably not old enough to remember.
Here comes Henry again, bowling full. That hits him high rather than on the back pad, but a better length from Matt Henry, and certainly some interest from behind the stumps from the Kent fielders without an appeal from the bowler.
I wonder if he edged it, because again Henry didn't appeal for that, and I have to say, just looking at the replay, he looked pretty straight. But I wonder if he just inside edged it and that's why Henry didn't go. I don't think there was a great deal wrong with it otherwise.
Henry again, 3 slips and a leg slip to Dom Sibley as he beats the outside edge of the bat once again, and manages to wrestle back a little bit of control at the back end of that over. So 16 each for the 2 batters, 51 for 2 on the board. Kent have to be slightly mindful of their over rate as well, which is at -4.
Yeah, Warwickshire were a little bit behind. I think, you know, sometimes they tend to get a couple given back, don't they? They do a bit of accounting at the end and say, well, you know, there was a minute here for somebody getting a bit of pads, and, you know, we lost the ball on a wet cover or something. But -4 might take a bit of wishing away.
Yeah, some of the no balls that were bowled by Senny and his day 1 exploits certainly didn't help. I think Sam Billings said in our interview that the no balls didn't do good for his over rate.
No, 51 for 2. This is edged and taken low down by Billings, and Hayne has got to go. Gosh, that was a good grab by Billings. It went really low, and the first blow struck by Kent after a fast forward start to the day. Hayne just deceived by a little bit of a way swing, but it flew really low, and Billings down in front of first slip, and it certainly wouldn't have carried as far as that. That's a very fine take, and Hayne, who held Warwickshire's first innings together, he's gone for 16, and it's 51 for 3.
Racking up the catches in this game, Sam Billings. 9 now, got 7 in the first innings, a couple now in this second innings. Sam Hayne, the mainstay of that first dig for the hosts, with 99 on his way, having, well, been out there bizarrely for 7 deliveries, having hit 4 boundaries to go to 16, and yet he's now heading back to the changing room. We know that he looked like he was in a little bit of discomfort at the latter end of his innings first time around in the match. Didn't really play a shot in anger when he was out there batting with the tail. But that is a really big wicket for Kent, knowing how good Hayne was in the first innings and how good a player he is. Rhodes heads out to now join Sibley. But Kent have got the first breakthrough that they desperately wanted, and it's that man again, Navdeep Senny, who's extra pace, extra zip. He's just causing batters all kind of problems in this game.
Just offered to go away a little bit, but there were a few occasions yesterday where there wasn't a lot of carry, and it would have fallen well short of the first slip. Billings scooped it up. Left-handed Will Rhodes, the Bears captain, out number 5. And a lot of runs still to find, 274 more to win, even if it is fast scoring conditions with the short boundaries. side. You know, 4 and over, that's still 70 overs of batting. Gosh, that's a lot at the moment.
Left-hand, right-hand combination now to contend with.
Twiddle of the bat from Rhodes. Now he settles, saying he's urgently waiting to get on with it. And here he is, round the wicket to the left-hander Rhodes, a short delivery, and he sways easily away from the line of that. It will be an equally attacking field to the left-hander. 3 slips and a gully. Backward point. There's a man quite close in at short extra as opposed to mid-off. And mid-on is round a bit towards mid-wicket. It's deeper square leg and long leg on the boundary, but shortish boundary though it is, on the Holly stand side. Saini round the wicket, and Rhodes is up on his toes and on top of the bounce there, guiding it down to long leg for 1 run. Played that with good control. Bears captain led them to a first championship title for him as skipper last year. Still quite a young captain, Will Rhodes. Led them very astutely last year. This year it hasn't been so easy. We were talking last night and ruining the fact, I think, that they don't have a settled attack. Bowlers coming in and out of the team all the time. Saini bowls to Sibley, who defends sturdily from the crease. Liam Norwell and Ollie Stone bowling for the seconds this week. Still really not yet considered fit enough, and he was talking about, you know, juggling with so many important games to play and not wanting to burn through all the fit players at this stage, he said. Which is an interesting thought. 52 for 3, but Sibley standing very upright in the crease, but bends his back just enough to allow a really quite a short delivery, so short as to be harmless.
I spoke to Joe Denley last night and he said Kent were very happy, considering he called it a tricky wicket, said he never really felt in, which is saying something from a batter that's gone and got 141.
There were a couple, weren't there, that sort of popped in the middle of the day from on a length. Leg slips his back for Sibley. Saini hurtles in, and Sibley's defending solidly from the crease with just a hint of a forward movement. And at the end of the over, 2 wickets now for Saini, 2 for 33 from 6 overs. Spread over last night and today, and 52 for 3. Warwickshire looking for 325. Rhodes is 1 and Sibley 60.
Yeah, Joe Denny talked about Warwickshire's efforts with the second new ball, and we saw that extra bounce that Craig Miles got, which managed to get him a couple of wickets and a little bit of movement. Just seeing the floodlights slightly illuminated, of course in the shape of an E here at Edgbaston, but it's almost like 1 in every 2 bulbs has been lit up just to help the situation. Did briefly go off a bad light last night, but it's fine at the moment. Left-handed Rhodes preparing to face Matt Henry. Has 3 slips and a gully, the black cap seamer. Past the umpire and bowling. Rhodes playing this away nicely into the onside. It was the first innings partnership between him and Hayne which was giving Warwickshire plenty of joy until he managed to hit one in the air to Bell Drummond at point to depart for 32. Haven't seen any of Matt Milnes as yet. It's been solely the 2 overseas with the new ball, short one from Henry, which Rhodes sways out the way of.
He sort of flinched a bit there. I wasn't sure how quickly he picked that up. The floodlights are just coming on, as you said, but it's grey, but it's not as bad light as it was last night.
No, the clouds overhead are fairly whitish. There's the odd bit of blue sky, if you can just see through the cloud cover. Henry with 24 on his back, sweatband on that left arm. He's getting this one through to Billings, left alone by Rhodes.
Riff emails me to say, I've really enjoyed this game and even managed to avoid melting on Tuesday. I think you're the only one, Riff. He says, but I'm calling it for Kent, sadly. He says, I think it'll be an amazing effort for the Bears to hang on for a win. If there's no rain, I don't see a draw on the cards. No, I think we're going to get a result if it doesn't rain, Riff.
Yeah, rain's the only way that we're going to get a draw, I think, here, as this one's defended away by Rhodes. Back towards Matt Henry. Collects in his follow-through. All the usual ways to get in touch. kentcricket@gmail.com if you want to go for emails. And then you've got at Ben Watt Sport, at Mike Taylor Sport. Nicky Chowdhury and Phil Britt are with us as well. We'll hear from them after 11:30. Henry's going to have a little crack around the wicket. Short ball to Rhodes, which could be a no ball here, and will be, because it was well over the head of the batter. Sam Billings did it especially well to reach up high above his head and grapple the ball one-handed.
He's got some spring, hasn't he, Billings? Well, I said you'd be expecting it, but all the same.
Here comes Henry around the wicket once more. Been behind this one. Rhodes defending. Yeah, coming up through the Kent age groups, which was a good while ago now for Sam Billings, admittedly. He was always a shorter in stature, actually. Took him a while to have a bit of a growth spurt, so he was quite naturally, you know, the dainty keeper behind the stumps, curly blonde hair. The batting really came on as he got older, as there's a full delivery fire down the leg side by Henry. Good take by Billings, moving away to his right. End of the over. Warwickshire 54 for 3 here on BBC WM, BBC Coventry and Warwickshire, BBC Radio Kent, BBC Sport Online and via the Warwickshire live stream.
Yes, hello live streamers and YouTubers. You could email us as well. Do you want to give your contact details? Your Kent friends.
Yeah, so it's kentcricket@gmail.com if you want to get in touch on the emails. Happy to take messages from fans of either county or just cricket in general. If you're in the Navdeep Seni fan club.
Well, he's 7 wickets on his first county championship match. Here he is again to bowl to the right-handed Sibley, and Sibley is pushing this carefully out to extra cover. How long is he around for, is he?
So he's around for this game next week, bit of the One Day Cup, and potentially another championship game.
It is confusing now to follow how many overseas players come and go.
Well, Kent had Jackson Bird, the Australian, at the start of the season, and I looked at my notes yesterday and thought, Jackson Bird, was that this season? It just feels so long ago.
Saini passes umpire Goff, and Sibley is pushing this, waiting to see if it will run past extra cover running round to allow a single, but it doesn't. It's tidily fielded.
I've primed Nicky for a potential interview with Navdeep later on.
Oh, yeah.
We've prepared questions in a couple of languages, so
Okay.
any wickets he adds today will help the narrative in that sense.
Yeah. One of them's German. 54 for 3. In rushes Saini, goes wider of the crease, and Sibley defends with a pleasing flex of the front knee.
The only German I know is from watching Cool Runnings. And that's just the 1, 2, 3 of the Swiss team going down the ice.
I did German for a short time at school, but I can't remember much of it. Other than there was a very long word for the name of the thing on railway stations that you stamp your ticket in. That's about the only word that I can remember. It was childish and it made us laugh. In comes Saini, bowls a short delivery and no ball, and Sibley, while keeping his feet planted, shows more flexibility than he's normally given credit for by swaying out of the way out of it like a palm tree in a gale, and it's taken by Billings.
Liam from the Kent's media team says he speaks Hindi and a bit of Punjabi, and
well done.
Nicky speaks Hindi as well, so
right, okay.
that's the plan. It's Hindi and English we've prepped questions in, so
good.
We're prepared. We're armed with a couple of languages to try and get some answers out of him.
That's good. That's impressive. Sibley waits, flexes his knees, and gets a ball that was starting wide of the off stump and going wider, and Billing takes. We had on our patch, we had a fella managing West Bromwich Albion a few years ago called Pepe Mel, who was tremendous fun. And they had an interpreter, so we'd ask the interpreter and he would go from English to Spanish, and Pepe would and he just generally talk for 2 or 3 minutes, and the interpreter would go, "No, he's got a groin strain." And we'd be able to, yeah.
That doesn't feel like it quite translates accurately.
Saying he runs and bowls down the leg side, and Sibley raises his arms, lets they go past. But and there were times when you could see the slightly pained expressions on the translator's face. He was a nice lad, the translator, but he was, doing a reasonable amount of housekeeping on the way through. But towards the end of a rather short and rather inauspicious reign, it became increasingly apparent that Pepe knew exactly what was going on anyway, and occasionally would drop into English for part of the answer, so we'd get enough of the gist. But the devil to edit for the radio. 56 for 3. There he is now, Pepe. He was a good lark. Sony bowls a bouncer, and Sibley bends underneath that. And it's the end of the over. 56 for 3, just a no ball from it. Dom Sibley sort of painted as this sort of immovable object who stands there and nudges the ball into gaps. But he looked remarkably dexterous in that over, bending into various shapes to get out of the way of short deliveries flying about. But he did it with relative comfort, if you can do that, with a 90-mile-an-hour projectile hurtling at you. So he's been exiled to long leg here, where there was nobody within 100 yards of him down there.
So Matt Henry back into the attack from the pavilion end. He's cutting a lonely figure at the moment down a fine leg as Joe Denley is a deep square leg.
Well, there are spectators back at the top of the stand there, in front of the executive boxes, who are nearer to Navdeep Saini than any of his teammates, because it's that big an acreage that he's covering down there.
Well, Joe Denley, the only friend he's got out there is one of the ground staff about 40 yards behind him. This is a very full delivery from Henry and driven down the ground very nicely by Rhodes. Moves the Warwickshire score on to 60 for 3 as he progresses to 5 with a very nice straight drive.
Yes, it was sweetly struck, and when the bowlers have erred in line, or particularly in length this morning, there have been runs there.
Yeah, particularly when Kent have overpitched. Warwickshire have scored well. 265 more runs for them to win the game. 7 more wickets for Kent as Henry bowls, and Rhodes just goes for a quick dab into the offside, and that's a well-judged single. As Bell Drummond runs in to do the fielding from backward point.
I feel they're going to have to try and keep the score going, aren't they? I'm not sure this is going to be a sitting-in kind of day. I'm just saying, we'll back to 6 o'clock and we'll get there in the end. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, you want to keep being positive in your defence. Looking to score when you can, without playing any rash strokes. It's the balance that different batters will kind of find their own way to get the right tempo at the crease, as Henry bowls to Dom Sibley and he defends it back to the New Zealand fast bowler. I'm not sure I'm going to quite get out of the over here. I might have to hand over to you, Mike.
Okay, I should pick it up, and then Nicky will come in, and then I'll hang about and see if I'm wanted at 11:30, and Phil will come in a moment.
So Henry, penultimate ball of this over, the 8th of his spell, which includes last night as well, as he beats the outside edge of Sibley's bat, just playing the original line, but hint of a movement away from the bat.
They're not far away here. Henry's been past the outside edge 2 or 3 times now. Sibley has so far been immovable. they really thought they'd got him at one stage last night, but appeal was turned down. You bowls wide of the off stump here, and it's the end of the over. 61 for 3 in 15 overs, Warwickshire, needing 325. Rhodes is 6, and Sibley's 16. Nikki Chowdhury's here, polymath, as we've now discovered.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well, but not as lingual as you are, evidently. I did GCSE French. I can't remember very much of that either.
I did GCSE French. I did German as well. So that was a very long time ago. None of that sticks.
I can remember just enough to watch the Tour de France and have an idea of what's going on.
I can say
like
croissant and pain au chocolat. I think that counts, right?
The
two important words I've learnt.
I do, and every year I watch the Tour de France and I think, now I'm going to brush up my GCSE French by next year, so that next year I can, read the French press and read all about it, because I love the Tour de France. And I never manage it, and then it comes around again and I think, I didn't bother.
We've got Signey from the Birmingham City end. In he comes. Slightly back of length ball, and he's been played that on the back foot by Rhodes. No run. Yeah, I did actually the same during lockdown 2020 when we had the initial lockdown. I was like, right, I got an A in my GCSE French. Right, let's brush up my language skills. I'd love to be able to speak 5 languages fluently. Went and got myself textbooks and stuff, all French textbooks, to see if I can brush it up. They're still in the box. I didn't really get far with that one.
Portuguese was going to be ours.
Never heard what Portuguese sounds like. Signey's in, bowls, and it's left outside the off stump by Rhodes.
The current Mrs. Taylor and I went to Lisbon on holiday with the family, and we adored it. So we picked him a real dart in the map job. It's the most marvellous place. And we came back saying, we're going to go there again, and we're going to learn Portuguese. So we bought one of those,
the mini guidebook.
One of the CD things.
Yeah.
You remember them, folks, CDs. We said we're going to put it in the car, and then when we're on a long drive somewhere, we're going to do it.
And just listen to it, and hopefully we'll just sink in.
Lasted 2 motorway junctions.
Signey's in, and this one's beaten. Rhodes is beaten into the hands of Billings. A lovely delivery, this one. Seems to have taken Rhodes by surprise as well. Yeah, those don't last long. It's like the initial motivation, and then when it comes to doing it, it just fizzles out.
This is it.
But Lisbon, on the other hand, apparently I hear it's a lovely place. So, would you recommend?
Oh, Lisbon, it was marvellous. Very good.
Must be sunnier there than it is here.
Hot, mind, but no, it was very good. I enjoyed that a lot.
Signey in bowls, and again beaten, squared him up this time. Rhodes squared up a bit, straight into the hands of Billings.
Yeah, there are times left-handers look as though they've played at the ball, but haven't really.
No, they
don't think that was one of them. He definitely played at that.
So really hot, did you say?
Well, it wasn't when we went, but we went probably in the first week of August, so I imagine it usually is.
Must be warmer than it is here. It's chilly.
Oh, it's too hot on Tuesday.
It's too cold on Friday.
No pleasing some people.
Signey's in, through, steaming in, and is cut off the back foot down. 2 point. Point is chasing, but is he going to make it to the boundary? Yes, that is. That brings up 4 runs for Rhodes. That brings him on to 10, and Warwickshire at 65. But when you're from the southeast, you're just used to warmer climates. So it's not being fussy, it's just what I'm used to.
Yes, my wife's from the west of Scotland, so
Must be warm for her today,
oh,
melting.
Believe it.
In from the city, and Signey bowls. Rhodes just played it off the back foot to extra cover, no run. And it's the end of the over. Warwickshire 65 for 3 of 16 overs.
I don't think I'm going to be doing a half-past update, so I'm going to get out of the way now. Phil's going to come in. He can tell you about all the languages he knows. All of them.
I'm sure he
speaks 2 languages.
I'm sure he's very linguistic.
English and bad.
Oh, the floodlights are fully functioning now. Every single little bulb is on. As you've got Henry making his way in, Sibley on strike, bowls, full delivery and driven down the ground, through long on to the boundary. And that's going to be 4 runs for Sibley. Warwickshire 69 for 3. It's a lovely looking shot, wasn't it, Phil?
Yeah, he's played some nice shots. There's been some really nice shots played this morning. They lost the 1 wicket, but they picked up the loose ball, driven particularly well. Hayne, in his brief innings, played some nice shots. Sibley has played 2 or 3, and Rhodes. So if the ball's there, they're prepared to go after it.
Henry's in again, just try to work that into the leg side. I think that's going to be a leg by. They managed to just switch ends here, so we've got Rhodes on strike.
It's interesting to hear you're just listening into your conversation with Mike. I like the way Mike said the current Mrs. Taylor and I.
Yeah, I did pick up on that.
How many
I was going to
what happens? Does Mike sort of say, oh, get rid of that one this month, have another one?
I thought I'd be polite and just be like, okay.
You don't want anybody to feel too confident.
That's a way of looking at it, isn't it? As Henry's in, bowls, and Rhodes is forward, defends it straight back down the ground. I don't want anyone to get too comfortable.
Yeah, Mrs. Taylor.
There's a tactic for you.
Yeah. I'm sure she listens into every moment of Mike's commentary. Football, cricket.
Keeping them on their toes as Henry's in, bowls, and again just played off the back foot defensively into mid-wicket, no run.
Well, it's a big task ahead for the Bears here. They've not really started that well this morning. A few runs come on the board, but they've lost that big wicket of Hayne, having lost those 2 last night, making life extremely difficult for themselves. And you have to say that if we get a full day's play, Kent would be the favourites at the moment.
Henry's in, bowls. It just played off the back foot, worked into extra cover, and they managed to nick a single here. And that is, by the looks of it, is it? No, I'm just too ahead.
Yeah.
Scoreboard's too slow.
Yeah, you can always tell because the moment that over finishes, the bowler changes to the one at the other end. So when you're about to say Henry, who's bowling now, give his figures, they've gone.
They've gone, yeah, I've noticed that. Yesterday I went to read it and I was like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Henry's in, steaming in, Sibley on strike, bowls, Sibley's forward, plays that to mid-on, no run, and now it is the end of the over. Warwickshire 71 for 3 of 17 overs. There you go, it's already changed to Sony.
It anticipates who's going to be the bowler at the other end, and then it sometimes obviously has to change if that bowler's suddenly taken out of the attack. So 71, a further 253 runs required. We've got 88 overs remaining in the day. The forecast looks now until about 4 o'clock. There's a possibility of rain, they're saying around about 4 o'clock.
Yep.
But having been originally 3 o'clock this morning, although they did have rain in Birmingham.
It did. There was a bit of rain on the car when I woke up this morning, so but it didn't rain as much. It was forecasted to us, or as what we were expecting last night when we left.
Here's Sadie starting another over from the Birmingham end, and this one Rhodes gets behind, pushes back down, and Sadie following through can't stop it, and Rhodes thinks about taking the single, but decides quite sensibly that's not the right option, and no run. Yes, the game moved on at a fair pace after tea last night, didn't it?
It did.
Runs being scored, and when Warwickshire came to about 2 wickets going, 2 important wickets, Saney ran the wicket to Rhodes, who tries to pull this one, but really is always just behind the ball. Ball's through him, but as he sweeps round, it goes through to Sam Billings, who is having an absolute memorable game. 9 catches,
yeah.
And he has taken 6, I think, now off Saney.
It's a good little partnership going on between them.
Yeah, it's looking a bit same-ish on the scorecard.
I've got it right in front of me, actually.
Oh, you've managed to get a scorecard?
Yeah, I've got it right in front of me.
Right.
Court Billings, bowled Saney.
This one is edged away by Rhodes down to backward point. Denley does the fielding. There's no run.
Yep. Right in front of me, caught Billings, bowled Siney, caught Billings, bowled Siney, caught Billings, bowled Siney.
It's yes. Anybody listening in the ground, apologies that he's not been able to get scorecards, but the machine, I gather, broke down. I've been updating them every night, sending them through, but
Yeah, this
kind
one,
of wasting my time, I think.
I got this one yesterday actually, so it's not fully up to date, but
Here comes Saney again. He's in. Rhodes waits, plays, in the end takes the bat out of the way, just lets it go through outside the off stump. He was originally thinking about going for the drive, then pulled out of it and just took the bat and just watched it go harmlessly through outside the off stump.
got the umpire going and just checking that front foot again.
Well, I actually think it's a permanent job. It would be really interesting to see, had there been a camera on that crease, just how many no balls would have been. But
Yes, because sometimes
called.
obviously, just to the naked eye, it can be hard to
Yeah.
catch every single one of them.
Here he comes again. Rhodes waits. He's behind that, just shorter one, which Rhodes gets back to and just plays calmly down into the offside, and there's no run. Denley comes into operation again.
Just a bit more grass on this end of the wicket where Rhodes is currently batting compared to the other side, isn't there?
Yeah,
Just a bit more, a tinge of green.
It's just a tinge now.
Yeah,
On the
not
opening
compared to
day,
what it
that
was
was
in-
quite well. You can see even now there's enough green there.
Yeah.
At this pavilion end, there's more than there is at the Birmingham end. But and that Oliver Hannondolby used that very well, very effectively on the opening day. So then he comes in, races in. Rhodes goes back and chops this one down to backward point where Denley does the fielding. It's another dot ball, end of another over, and it's a good one from Saney. 71 for 3. Rhodes is on 11. That's come off 27 balls, and Sibley is on 20 from 46 balls.
And we've got Henry continuing from the pavilion end.
Clouds this morning over the ground are quite high. It is good.
The ones in the distance on the far left look a bit heavy, but
yes,
hopefully they
do.
just miss
Yeah.
us. Henry's in, bowls, and he's just nicked that to third slip. It hasn't carried, so he's safe, Sibley. Safe with that one. Just came off the shot a bit as he played that. It wasn't really fully forward, didn't really fully commit to coming forward there.
Yeah, he comes down and gives the wicket a bit of a tap. But, we saw one or two when Kent were batting yesterday, which sort of jumped a little. But
Yeah, Henry's in, bowl this one. Sibley's nice and forward this time. It defends. It's just fielded by Henry off his own bowling.
don't seem to have happened too much during this innings. Certainly not today. So 71, 253 more required. Who have Kent got next week, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Let me have a look in the book and see.
Not here next week. Henry's in, bowls. Sibley's just off the back foot, plays it to point, no run.
Sorry, I think Mike's saying away to Lancashire. So that's not an easy one. So both sides got tough games next week. Warwickshire away to Surrey, Kent away to Lancashire. So this result is even more critical, I think, for both sides.
Very critical. As Henry's in, bowls, and it's left outside the off stump, straight into the hands of Sam Billings.
But as we still don't really have any decision as to what's happening with Division 1 next year and how many teams, if any, are going to be relegated by the ECB, whether the division is going to be 10 teams or what it's going to be, it may be that...
There's a lot of rumours going around. It's just no...
Well, they're waiting for
a firm decision.
Affirmation of exactly what it's going to be.
Yes, Henry's in, bowls. Sibley's forward, defends, and Henry fields off his own bowling. Another dot ball.
Which seems kind of... for the simple chap like myself, it seems kind of ludicrous that you're playing a competition not knowing
where you stand,
where you're
and
going to be playing next
exactly.
year, because it's not being decided. It's
Yeah, and I think it helps have a bit more surety when you go into a match as well. At the moment, it's all just a bit up in the air. As Henry's in, bowls, so he just plays off the back foot, works it down to mid-wicket, and they quickly nick a single. Mid-wicket shies at the stumps, but Sibley was safely in at the non-striker's end. And at the end of the over, Warwickshire 72 for 3 off 19 overs.
It's been tinkered with so many times, though, hasn't it, the county championship now, that nothing any longer
I feel like,
seems to be beyond possibility, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of tinkering just going on in general. I think there's always a bit of a change here or a change there.
It's very difficult for the supporter to know and to understand quite what the rationale and quite what's going to happen and what the relevance is. And to all intents and purposes, whilst we're talking about neither side wants to get relegated, it may not even be may not even be an option next season. It may be that they're all going to they're going to survive, and a couple of teams are going to come up from Division 2.
Yeah, and we've got change in bowling from the Birmingham City end.
Yeah,
Milnes is
Matt
going to
Milnes is into the attack.
It's going to be replacing Navdeep Saini.
So you're going to interview him, are you, after the game?
Yes, I've been roped in to interview him because I think Ben could use with my linguistic skills. So, yes, have to interview him. I've got a few questions that I've had to translate into Hindi. So,
right. Here's Milnes in. His first ball of the morning is right on the mark. It's turned by Sibley, just comes across his stumps and just plays it up to mid-on. There's no run.
He's really thrown me in the far end. My first interview, and that too, can you please do it in another language for me? I was like, okay, sure.
Does he not speak English, Ben? Here comes Milnes again from that Birmingham end, running in and bowls. And this is rapping Sibley on the pad and has been there. Everybody's up for it.
Everyone's gone up.
Yeah, but umpire Goff is not moved. He's the only one on the ground, on the field, apart from the batsman, who thinks he's not out. And they can't believe that's not being given.
Even Fine Leg came running in.
When he came in, he bowled. It rapped Sibley, bang, on the pad. Then it shot up into the gully and was caught. They all thought then it was out. They've all run away, and now they're still looking at each other in disbelief. I have to say, watching the replay, that Sibley did go right across his stumps, and it rapped him, bang. I think that was a pretty good shout, but still, umpire Goff is the important one, thinks not, and he survives. This is the next ball, driven up to mid-on, where Saini has a full shine at the stumps, but Sibley has got home, got away from the danger end, and he moves on with that single on to 22, 73 for 3. Kent couldn't believe that wasn't given.
So what are your linguistic skills like then, Phil? You're full of them.
I speak French. I lived in France for...
Oh, really?
Lived in France for 3 years.
Whereabouts?
Working there, down in Saint-Étienne. I speak Italian.
Wow. They're quite similar, aren't they? Apparently, French
there are
and
similarities,
Italian.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. He's in this one, he pushes into the offside, and there's no run. It's a bit like everything else, a bit like playing the piano, that unfortunately if you don't do it and use it every day, you quickly forget it.
Tell me about it. I used to play the piano, and I did a few of my I think I went up to grade 4, and now if I look at it, looking at the notes, it's just so hard to comprehend again. I'm like, oh, I'm looking like Google, what's the note C look like again, or note F, F sharp. Oh, yeah, if you don't do it, then it just slips out.
It comes back quite quickly when we get there on holiday. This one is flicked into the onside by Rhodes. There's no run. They think about it, but straight virtually to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Yeah, going on holiday, by the time we've been sort of down in France for about 2 or 3 days, it comes back fairly quickly, but the Italian's more difficult, because the other problem is everybody wants to speak English to you. So
yeah, and when you want to speak their language, and it's just...
Yeah, And also, depending in France, what part of France you go to, because the
Dialects are so different.
well, also the attitude. Here's Mills in bowls. Oh, that one flew past Rhodes. It took off and really surprised Rhodes. He was sort of leaving it, but then it followed him a bit and came through sort of just a high chest height and through to the keeper and made Rhodes really sort of jump. Final ball of the over, 73 for 3. Rhodes is on 11. Sibley's 22. And good over that one from Mills. He really did trouble them and feels aggrieved that he didn't get a wicket given to him for the LBB for Sibley.
But you're going to have to teach me some Italian. I'm off to Italy next week.
So are you? Whereabouts you going?
I'm going to Rome for the first time.
Okay, you won't need Italian.
Does everyone speak English there then? Henry's in. Here he comes. Bowls. And it's left outside the off stump by Sibley. A very clean looking leave. So no Italian, no buongiorno.
No, I used to spend a lot of time in between Milan and Turin in a place just outside Novara, and it was a really nice part of Italy because it was up near the lakes, and you could be up on Lake Maggiore, and we used to always try and get up there for a little bit of time in the evening.
Henry's in, bowls, and it's worked off his legs by Sibley down to the deep mid-wicket boundary. It's 4 runs. Just flicked off his legs. Lovely timing, and it just chased away down to the boundary. That brings Warwickshire to 77.
It was a lovely shot from Sibley. He played it beautifully. It's into his favourite spot.
Quite a full delivery from Henry there.
It wasn't a great delivery from Henry. It was a little bit full. It was angling into down the leg side, and Sibley was on it quickly and helped himself to a boundary. Beautiful shot.
Here's Henry, bowls. And, ooh, just back of the length and it's beaten Sibley. It's gone straight into the hands of Sam Billings.
Well, that pitched and just moved away from him.
Yes, it did.
He really turned him square on, and he played and dropped the bat, and it just angled away. It was a beauty, a terrific response, having been hit for 4, and could easily have got the outside edge.
It's a great delivery. Someone seems to be in the eye line of Sibley. Here's Henry in, he comes, bowls, and just going down the leg side. This gone up. They think he's gloved it, but again, no. Umpire is not interested. Sibley just takes a little wander down to square leg.
I think a bit of kidology going on there, and they're still, and the Kent players are still. I don't think he was really even close to that one.
No, I really don't. It did not look like it from here, and I think Kent have got the motto: if you don't ask, you don't get going on here right now. So anything that seems slightly close to the batsman, there seems to be an appeal. As Henry's in, bowls, and Sibley's forward, just worked that down to mid-wicket, no run.
It's a good test for the Warwickshire batsmen because these 2 international bowlers, Henry and Saini, really tested them this morning, and then Matt Milnes is an excellent bowler, terrific to have as first change. It's an attack where you're never given.
You can never relax. It's not
no.
Exactly. Henry's in, bowls, and Sibley's forward defends solidly. And that is the end of the over. Warwickshire 77 for 3 of 21 overs.
It's going to get Kent, having got these 2 players back into their side now for I don't know how much of the season, presumably quite a good chunk of the remainder of the season, if not all, will should really reap the benefits from them. Because they look very, very useful opening pair.
Really make the most out of them.
Yeah. Warwickshire still require a further 247 for victory. 248 for victory, in actual fact. 247 behind. 84 overs remain in the day, and Kent requires 7 wickets. And a win for either side will relieve their concerns, as this one is turned by Rhodes to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Have you been to Rome before?
No, this is actually my second time to Italy. My first time to Italy was just before the pandemic began in 2020 in February. That was to Venice, and then this time it's my second trip to Italy. I'm off to Rome, but I don't know if I have much time for touristing. I'm actually going for work, so we'll see. As long as there's time to eat some good pasta, I'm happy.
It's the grapper. This one is turned away down to deep mid-wicket. Bill Drummond does the fielding down there out on the mid-wicket boundary. And one more to Rhodes, 78 for 3. Rhodes, it's a beautiful city road, and it will be hot.
I know, I looked at the forecast. It's going to be like what it was here on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's very, very hot.
So,
but it's a lovely city to go to, and even just if you're in there, even just getting a taxi and going around and looking at the sights, it's well worth doing.
if I get time, I'll definitely do that then.
Milnes comes charging in, bowls, and up on his toes goes Sibley and just runs it away to cover point, which is vacant, and they amble through for a single.
Played that very softly, just allowing him to get the time to take that single, actually.
79 for 3 that moves to. Sibley goes on with that single to 27. 12 to Rhodes. These two just trying to steer Warwickshire through. We've had nearly an hour's play this morning, starting on time, and despite all the stories about the weather and the gloomy news, Rhodes drives and Milnes sort of takes the pace off it, can't field it cleanly, but there's no run. They've started on time. We had some rain in Birmingham overnight, but not enough to prevent play starting on time, and the forecast looks significantly better than it did yesterday. When we were talking yesterday, we had gloomy predictions for today, but
you can never trust the forecast. Like yesterday, it wasn't even forecasted to rain.
No, that's right, and we lost the whole of the morning session.
Yep.
In he comes and bowls, and this is punched away to wide-ish mid-on. It looked initially as though Rhodes was going to get some runs there, but not to be. And stays 79 for 3.
Because as we left, I told Ben, I was like, just watch, it's not going to rain tomorrow, because today wasn't meant to rain, and the weather forecast didn't predict it. So just tomorrow, it's predicted it's not going to happen. So, and here we are.
Yeah, good.
An hour into play.
Yeah, that's good news for everybody. It's Milnes in. Oh, that's a lovely ball. Completely beats Rhodes. He sort of pushed at it, and it flashed away past him, and it just looked behind. You can tell straight away that it's a good delivery from the speed, which the look back to the keeper. And another one goes through to Sam Billings. It was the last ball of the over from Milnes, who's opened up with a couple of really good overs. Just the 3 runs coming from those first 2 overs, and at the end, it's we've had what now 22 overs of this Warwickshire innings. They are 79 for 3. The 1 wicket to fall this morning. Sam Hain, who was caught by who else but Sam Billings, for 16.
And here's Henry from the pavilion end. Bowls, and it's left outside the off stump by Sibley. Was a bit two-minded there. He wasn't sure if to play that or leave it, but it opted out at last minute.
It just seems now on the scorecard you're just going to put caught Billings and then just drop in which bowler it is. It seems like that's the only way a wicket's going to fall.
That's what's going to happen, isn't it?
9 catches so far in the match. I wonder whether he's ever had 10 before.
Here's Henry bowls, and is driven through the offside by Sibley, making its way down to the deep cover boundary. Is it going to go for 4? Oh,
yes.
No.
Well, it should be.
I'm just going to wait for the umpires.
Yeah, he pulled it up, but he pulled it up with his legs
leg
over the ropes. But yeah, well,
yeah.
it's
so that's 4. No, 3. So we did save it.
Yeah,
just in time then.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? You can, looking down from where we are, we have the advantage of being able to see, which the umpire can't. And you're completely dependent, as has been tradition for 100+ years, that you rely on the honesty or the opinion of the fielder.
Here's Henry to Rhodes. Shorter delivery. Rhodes has just gone to duck out the way of that, but this one has literally just died on him. I think it just... Did it hit him on the shoulder?
Shoulder, yeah. He turned and it hit him on his right shoulder. Just as he turned into it, and he didn't even grimace.
It's like it didn't even hit him.
Sure, that must have hurt.
Just acting strong. Here's Henry, bowls another short delivery, and he's off the back foot by Rhodes, just defended and picked up by Henry off his own bowling. So when you have to act like it doesn't hurt, and you're like, I'm tough.
Go down like a log.
You're not quick enough to hurt me. You're probably like inside, like burning. Here's Henry bowls another short delivery. He's just played that off and down to fine leg, and they've just taken a single here. 83 for 3.
It's gone with this short delivery approach quite a bit this morning. The fuller ball they've been driving, so I think that's probably the response, is to keep it a little bit shorter, and they're getting a bit of lift on it as well now.
Yeah, there is a bit of carry through the pitch, isn't there?
Yeah,
So
I did say early on, we haven't seen any this morning, but now one or two have just jumped, not viciously, but enough off the length to give a concern.
here's Henry bowls, and it's left outside the off stump by Sibley. No run. It is the end of the over. Warwickshire 83 for 3 off 23 overs.
Right, I'm going to bring Mike back in.
Okay, I'll speak to you in a bit, Phil. Yeah, there's a bit more carry in the wicket, and I think it just comes down to just one poor execution. I think then Kent are going to get another, which I'm sure they're just relying on one missed timing. A good bit of carry with their little short ball agenda that they've got going on here. We've just got Navdeep Saini just going off the pitch for a bit.
Not to practice his vocab. Henry showed some stamina, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. And here's Mills in, bowls, and forward is Rhodes. Defends it, no run. I'm sorry, I think I've just nicked your over.
No, you carry on. At some point, I shall have to dive in, but not for a couple of minutes yet. There are updates on the hour for radio stations. 83 for 3.
Here's Mills in, short delivery, and it's pulled straight to mid-wicket. A very mistimed ball shot from Rhodes, just towed that. And it's picked up, and again, no run.
Yeah, that
Played that very early.
Yeah, he was really on it early.
Really early, like,
Yeah, dangerously so.
not even
yeah.
exaggerating. It's like it was super early. He just towed that completely.
Nearly scooped it to a fielder at mid-wicket.
Nearly scooped. If he just waited a bit slightly, he would have been able to place that between the deep square leg gap. Hey ho. Here's Mills. Into Rhodes again, bowls, and it's left outside the off stump. And this one, Sam Billings has gone down to his knees to take, just to his right. No carry.
Swung a bit after it had passed him, after it had passed the batsman. I think you get this next ball in, I think, before I have to barge in, probably.
Just barge in whenever you need to.
I tend to. Still grey, isn't it? I don't think we're going to see a lot of sun today.
I don't have that feeling as well. At least it's slightly bright. It's like grey but bright.
Yes.
Here's Mills in. He comes. Bowls, and Rhodes is forward, defends that. It's just picked up by extra cover who's just come running in.
It's at Edgbaston on the 4th day of the championship match between Warwickshire and Kent. Warwickshire 83 for 3, still a long way from their target of 325. They lost the wicket of Sam Hain after an early flurry of boundaries, edged the Indian international fast bowler Navdeep Saini. A very good catch for Sam Billings, the wicketkeeper. He's 9th of the match. Dominic Sibley and Will Rhodes have survived a few confident appeals. Sibley was perilously close to being LBW a few minutes ago, but for the moment they are holding firm, with Warwickshire still with a great deal to do, needing 325 altogether to win. They're 84 for 3. There. I told you I'd barge in.
It's all right.
There was a signal pushed away by Rhodes to mid-wicket in the middle of that. Is there anything you missed?
And there's just one ball left of this over. I'm not sure if you saw on Twitter, Mike. I'm not sure if you're on social media, but yesterday's little cameo from Quinn, that last ball 6, has gone viral on Twitter. TMS have retweeted it, just saying it was probably one of the... As Mills is in and bowled and Sibley's forward defends it. It's the end of the over. 84 for 3 Warwickshire of 24 overs. TMS have retweeted it, and yeah, it's gone quite viral. I think everyone's found it quite entertaining.
It was a little party piece, wasn't it?
It was a party
walking
piece.
in with one ball, see how far he can hit it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you must have played, like, if you're going out and you know you've got 1 ball left, then, and you've been told you're going to declare, I'm pretty sure you must have placed a bet with someone in that dressing room to say, watch me, I'm going to tonk this one out the ground.
Yes. That's worth a point, isn't it?
It is worth a point.
84 for 3. Kent, we're going to see a change of bowler for the first time today at the pavilion end. And Matt Henry, after 7 overs this morning, he's going to give way now to the man of the moment, that one particular moment, Matt Quinn, another New Zealander by birth, although England qualified to play age group cricket for New Zealand. We've seen whether he can have an impact with 1 ball when he's batting. See how he gets on when he's bowling, running in right arm over the wicket and bowling a short delivery which Rhodes pulls, and it looked as though he was trying to pull that finer, but he's gone out towards Denley at deep square leg instead, and he takes 1. Henry 12 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 36 altogether, took the wicket of Benjamin last night. Warwickshire weren't very happy with that, by the way. I think it would be fair to say they were not thrilled by the decision. First blush to me on the replay last night, it looked pretty sound to me. But, however, 85 for 3. Quinn now to the right-hander, Sibley, and has 3 slips. Kent are still attacking. There are 2 deep fielders on the shortish leg side boundary. Quinn's had a couple of false starts, and now he sets into his run, and Sibley defends but guides it wide enough of the extra cover fielder to get 1 run, and takes the total to 86, which Sibley shares 31. Survived a very strong shout about 20 minutes ago when Mills really thought he'd had him. Now Quinn passes umpire Blackwell. There's 2 slips for the left-hander. Oh, he goes past the outside edge of Rhodes, who pushed firmly at that.
There's a lot of excitement going on here.
Yeah, Kent's pretty fired up for this.
They're very fired up.
I'm sure they are aware of what a big result it would be to take them above Warwickshire. There are some other games that are going to come to a close. Looks like Surrey are going to beat Essex. But there's a very tight game going on between Northants and Lancashire. It's coming to a close finish. Rhodes pulls. Oh, I think he knows he's gone this time. He's gloved a pull down the leg side. And Rhodes will be very disappointed with that manner of dismissal. Looking to pull and just feathered a catch off the glove to Billings. 10 catches for Billings now. 86 for 4. And the Warwickshire captain Rhodes is gone for 15.
Bit of a half-hearted shot from Rhodes there, and I'm sure he's going to be very disappointed with that one as he makes his way back to the dressing room. And on that note, Mike, I'm going to leave you because Ben is hovering around like a bumblebee, so I think it's his go.
86 for 4, and Kent very much have a win in their sights now. Just quickly elsewhere, they're not playing at Taunton because of rain. Somerset 225 for 6 lead Yorkshire by 373. The Oval, Surrey nearly there. Surrey needing 29 more to beat Essex at 132 for 3. At Northampton, it's in the balance. Lancashire 50 runs away from victory at 228 for 6. But have lost wickets recently, so have rather lost their momentum. There's other games going on in Division 1, but this one here, at the moment he's tilting fairly firmly towards Kent. after the dismissal of Rhodes for 15. Gloving a pull down the leg side. My impression was he slightly miscued to pull the first ball of that over.
Well, there was a few miscued ones, wasn't there? There was one he kind of toe-ended from Milnes a couple of overs ago, which almost ballooned out towards mid-wicket. I was just thinking, prior to that delivery, how have Kent only taken 1 wicket? Because Sibley's survived a number of pretty big shouts, in particular that one from Milnes, which was... Well, the players went up for LBW, then went up for caught, and neither was given by umpire Goff. The replay looked pretty close on the LBW in particular. Question whether it was hitting leg stump. But Sibley still out there, Rhodes falling. Mosley, the new man.
Dan Mosley is a very talented young player, but coming in a difficult situation here. Another left-hander, and he's forward to defend his first ball from Quinn. They do rate Mosley. He emerged into the championship team towards the tail end of last season. Talented young player. He's
done well in the T20 this year.
Yes, he did. Yes, scored some runs. He's just 21 earlier this month. Played some international age group cricket. Mid-offs come quite up close on the drive as Quinn bowls, and Mosley hits it past him and away down towards long off. There's a chase back here towards the rope, and it's retrieved just in time, so they are going to be content with 2. 88 for 4, the end of a first successful over for Matt Quinn. And Kent on course seemingly for a victory that would make them breathe a lot easier. Warwickshire still needing another 239, and their title defence has lost momentum. They started okay, a win and a draw from the first 2 games, but 7 championship games without a win.
Yeah, their title defence is going about as well as Kent's T20 title defence, when they were 1 win from however many. Ended up with 3. Or 4 was it? They were 1 more than Warwickshire, or Worcestershire rather, as Milnes is in and bowling, and this one's chipped by Sibley up towards mid-on and dropped short of, I think, the sub-fielder Ollie Robinson. He's certainly, despite having been out there for 68 balls, Dom Sibley, he's kind of fulfilling the Joe Denley mantra that you're never in on this wicket, because he's still looking uncomfortable out there. 31 to his name, but still offering Kent hope that they can dismiss him. As Matt Milnes bowls to Sibley, left alone outside the off stump. Yeah, we were sort of talking about Kent's T20 and were they going to go from being the best team in the country to the worst, but Worcestershire managed to just about ruin that theory by winning 1 less game. Kent were bottom of the South group. Warwickshire 88 for 4 then. 6 more wickets needed for Kent. 3-2-5 looking a fair way away for the hosts. Floodlight still on, cloudy overhead. This one's driven away out towards extra cover. Could be 4 hit. Bell Drummond though has done supremely well. What an athletic piece of fielding that was out on the boundary. And I said to Richard Wilford earlier on in the week, when he suggested that Bell Drummond was the best fielder in the Kent team, and I said, well, I think Jack Leaning and Jordan Cox probably would have something to say about that, but that's right up there from Daniel Bell Drummond.
He's a pretty good fielder.
So just 2 runs in the end for Domsley to move him to 33. It's been a good spell from Milnes so far, just 6 runs conceded in 3.5 overs. It's been threatening. This one's pushed away out towards mid-wicket. At times this season, Milnes has been the main man and not seemingly had loads of support in the Kent attack, but with the 2 overseas in the team, he's able to come on first change and still keep up that threat.
It looks a very strong bowling lineup now for a team that hasn't had the best of seasons so far.
That was once more short ball to Dom Sibley, which he ducks underneath. Through it goes to Billings.
Into the 26th over now with this ball, so it should have lost some of its hardness, and yet there's still been a bit of swing on offer.
It does still seem to be assisting the bowlers in some kind of way. As Milnes bowls to Sibley, clips it up towards mid-on, where Robinson does the fielding. End of the over. We've still got loads of them left in the day. 79 to be bowled. Again, having to look after this ball. 26 overs old now, but yeah, they didn't seem to have a problem in the first innings.
Well, the likelihood is they're going to, if it goes that far, if Warwickshire do get some momentum and start chasing down these runs, then they will get another ball.
It got easier when it went softer, the ball.
Here comes Quinn looking to start a second over, and he bowls to Mosley, who defends into the leg side. I'm going to put a fairly heavy asterisk on this, subject to further confirmation, but believe that Sam Billings' 10 catches are a record for Kent in a first-class game. There are 2 other instances of Kent wicket-keepers who've made 10 dismissals in a game, but they both involved stumpings. On one occasion, 9 stumpings. But both of those were before the Second World War. Is Matt Quinn bowling again. This takes Mosley a little bit higher on the bat as he comes forward to defend out into the offside. And there's no run. And of course, there are still 6 wickets to fall in this match. So he may yet move further up the record order, as it were. But any advance on 10, I don't believe there's ever been more than that in a game for Kent. He's going to have 11 because Mosley's just nibbled at a ball from Quinn that left him outside off stump and falls for 2. A wicket in his second over to go with 1 in his first for Quinn. 11 catches now for Billings. And Mosley is the latest to fall. Caught Billings, bowled Quinn for 2, and it's 90 for 5.
Well, Matt Quinn joining the party, having hit that 6 last night off just 1 delivery faced, which in itself was a record. The only player in the last 10 years in county championship cricket to face 1 ball and whack it for 6, and he's doing his real job now, running in and taking wickets. 4 for 2 from 1.5 overs, and what he's done so well is, as I mentioned, Milnes has kept up that pressure that's on the Warwickshire batters, created by the opening spell from Henry and Saini, and then the 2 that have come on and replaced them, albeit they are not quite as quick, but Quinn's line and length is always good. He bowls a harder length, back of length, and just inviting a stroke from Mosley there, and a difficult game for him. Another catch for Sam Billings, as you mentioned, chasing that record haul of dismissals, caught behinds in a game, having taken 7 in the first innings. Enjoying his work, the captain behind the stumps, as Burgess comes out to join Sibley with Warwickshire 90 for 5.
Yes, and they're in a mess now, Warwickshire. It looks a very tall target now. For them to reach. Again, subject to confirmation. But 11, I believe, equals a county championship record. For any county. There have been a number of instances of that. Keith Piper for Warwickshire, one of them, in the 1990s. Burgess is the new batsman, the Warwickshire wicket-keeper. Must be looking on enviously. And he pushes his first 2 runs, in fact, through the covers. 92 for 5. Now, Burgess has already performed a few rescue acts this season with the Warwickshire lower order, but this one would probably top the lot, and certainly for importance in a game it would be pretty significant. I don't believe any of the instances of more than 11 dismissals in a first-class match occurred in a county championship. I'm pretty sure 11 is a championship record. Quinn goes wider of the crease, and this takes the outside half of the bat, but Burgess kept his hands soft and has guided it between gully and backward point, and he's going to get 2 more runs, a little off the edge. Arnold Long of Surrey in the 1960s had 11 dismissals. David Bairstow, a great Yorkshire wicketkeeper, and of course father of Johnny. Warren Hegg of Lancashire. Alex Stewart made 11 dismissals in a championship game. Keith Piper for Warwickshire against Derbyshire in the treble winning season of 1994. John Batty for Surrey with 4 stumpings, helping to 11 dismissals, all players who've done it previously in the championship. There's another 2 runs here for Burgess, guiding the ball through extra cover. In fact, they'll have 3 by the time it goes out towards the long boundary. So he picks up 7 runs from his first 3 deliveries, but Matt Quinn would happily have paid 7 runs for a wicket in that over. He has 2 for 11 in 2, and Warwickshire 97 for 5 with Sibley 33 and Burgess 7, still 228 runs from victory.
Thanks to those of you getting in touch on social media. Mark saying good to see Rhodes walk straight off when he was strangled down the leg side. Commending the sportsmanship of the Warwickshire skipper there. Dan was about to suggest that Daniel Bell-Drummond come on. He tends to be a bit of a partnership breaker for Kent, but a bit of an upgrade on their 4th seamer this week. Last week it was Bell-Drummond at home against Northants. This week with the 2 overseas coming in, it's Matt Quinn, who's been one of their better bowlers this season. Matt Milnes looking to try and join in. As we've mentioned earlier on, unlucky not to get Sibley LBW earlier on today, according to a number of you in particular. Well, this one has somehow not got any touch through to Billings, as Burgess went for a bit of a loose drive. Wasn't the most convincing stroke from the Warwickshire wicketkeeper.
Well, I can't really afford any errors now. Warwickshire, there's still plenty of time to get the runs.
In and bowling. And that's the edge. And Milnes does get his wicket. That's a brutal delivery that's taken the outside edge of the top half of the bat and gone through to Sam Billings. Catch number 12 in the match for the Kent wicketkeeper. Matt Milnes gets his first of the innings. Warwickshire in disarray at 97 for 6. Kent need 4 more for the win.
So that, I believe, now is the outright county championship record for Sam Billings. 12 dismissals in a match. Eclipsing all those names I was giving you a few moments ago. The world record in first-class cricket stands at 14, and he's very much within his radar. Billings just followed a ball that climbed a fraction. And that was all through brief and arrival. And at 97 for 6, Warwickshire now in danger of subsiding to quite a heavy defeat in a match in which they took what appeared at the time at least a helpful, if not significant, first innings lead.
Yeah, after bowling Kent out for 165, winning the toss, bowling first. Right call, according to the Kent skipper as well, who would have done the same. Hannon Dorby taking those 6 wickets. Warwickshire would have felt they were in all right in the game. The only issue with that was with Kent's overseas firepower that they've brought in, they had the ability to do the same. And although it was a 60-run first innings lead, that partnership between Denley and Cox really turning the momentum of the game in Kent's favour, and then Warwickshire having to come out and bat last. And as things stand, the rain hasn't come to save them. And Kent seamers have enjoyed what this pitch is still offering them in way of support, and Sam Billings has just been gobbling catches for fun behind the stumps to remove the batters one by one. Briggs comes out to join Sibley now, as Milnes 1 for 6 his figures, bowls, and this is defended down into the ground and into the front pad by Danny Briggs.
Danny Briggs made some very helpful runs last season for Warwickshire, not least in the match in which they won the county championship, in which at one stage the permutations were such that they had to hurry to grab an extra batting point to remain in to make the numbers work, and he made a quick fire 50 with 9 wickets down, which ended up being decisive.
Briggs, a little trigger movement across his stumps. Milnes again going back of length as it travels through to Sam Billings behind the stumps.
The batting conditions are actually not bad now. It's still probably, you know, fast scoring conditions with a short boundary, and the outfielders still look pretty quick despite the rain that we had yesterday and early this morning. And the skies are lightning, but it's all too late for Warwickshire.
Yeah, it's a difficult period at the moment, and well, at one stage, as this one's played away by Briggs to get off the mark into the onside, when Hayne and Sibley were out there scoring those early boundaries, when perhaps Saini's length was a little bit too full. At that point we were thinking they had the impetus to maybe go on and pull off a remarkable chase. But since then, the dismissal of Hayne, and particularly since the dismissal of Rhodes, Kent have managed to go bang bang and get Mosley and Burgess out of there as well. 98 for 6, with the final ball of Milnes over to come. Dom Sibley facing up to it. Oh, and he's bowled, dragging on. Matt Milnes removes Dom Sibley, and Kent, it feels like on the brink now. 98 for 7. Milnes strikes twice in the over. Dom Sibley's resistance is brought to an end, and Warwickshire seemingly on the verge of defeat. 98 for 7. 3 more wickets needed for Kent. Sibley on his way for 33.
Yes, and it's going to be a pretty heavy defeat now by the look of it. Sibley didn't really go either forward or back to that. It's just guided it onto the stumps. And gosh, they've subsided quickly. 4 for 11 in less than 4 overs. And it's been the change bowlers in the end. Quinn and Milnes, not a bad pair of change bowlers, you might say. But all the same, they have very quickly undermined Warwickshire's middle order. And we might well be done by lunchtime at this rate. Henry Brooks coming out to join Danny Briggs. With Warwickshire's task taller than ever at 97 for 7. This is not going to be the first game this season which has got away from them, and then if not a winning position, then certainly having the upper hand. But they look in a mess now.
Looks a bit messy, doesn't it, Mike?
It's not pretty. But again, I think they will probably look at, say, the third innings as much as anything else is where the game has gone.
3 more here and they can dig in at lunch.
Well, it's too late for that. Matt Quinn, who's already struck in each of his 2 overs so far, he's going to bowl again from the pavilion end, and he'll bowl to Danny Briggs, who has 1 and 3 slips and a gully awaiting for this. He's fired down the leg side, and Briggs plays inside the line of it. There are some difficult questions for Warwickshire now, with their title defence having well and truly foundered, and they'll be sweating now about the teams below them catching up. Gloucestershire heading to defeat this week, but others although the games are still close. This is just outside the off stump, and Briggs shields the bat behind the pad and doesn't really play at that.
Been a bit of a shambolic batting performance this morning, hasn't it? It's probably definitely not gone Warwickshire's way.
Well, the bowling has been useful.
It's been very good,
found
I think, obviously.
edges.
It's been very good bowling. Conditions that helped as well.
Off goes Quinn, and Briggs drives out to extra cover. Of the teams below Warwickshire and Kent in the table, I mean, Somerset had built quite a good position in their game, but being held up by the weather at Taunton. So no play before lunch there. So presumably when they do come out and play at Taunton, assuming they do, they'll have at the most 2 sessions to try and beat Yorkshire. And if they were to do that, that really would put pressure on Warwickshire. But even as it is, they'll fall behind Kent. She's clipped off the hip by Briggs for 4 runs to square leg. Take Warwickshire rather queasily past 100. 102 for 7. But 325 is far too many. By the look
It's a
of
long
things.
way away.
Well, but I think they'll think that Nicky, they're chasing too many. There should never have been as many as that. Quinn bowls, and this is flicked away for probably 4 more runs. I think it's going to have the urge to beat the chase up to the boundary. Yes, it was round towards mid-wicket. A little more. There is a result in Division 1. Surrey have beaten Essex by 6 wickets at the Oval. Surrey 162 for 4, getting to their target with plenty of time to spare. 2 wickets for Simon Harmer, who's pulled off plenty of escapes for that sort of situation for Essex in the past, but not today. So Surrey very much still in the championship chase. This is again fired down the leg side and full, and Briggs swishes it down to long leg for a single. It's the end of the over, and at 107 for 7, with Briggs 10 and Brooks yet to face.
We've got a helmet coming on.
Well, there's every reason to try and crowd the batters a bit now.
They'll definitely be feeling it.
So much for the rain that was
Rain.
potentially going to have an impact on this game, and
Yeah.
Warwickshire would give for that now.
Maybe some of them are doing the rain dance as Mills is coming in from the Birmingham City end. Got Briggs on strike, who's forward, just defends that softly, and it's fielded by Point. Looking at the field, we've got 3 slips, a gully, a point, extra cover, mid on, no mid off, deep square leg, and a fine leg. Bearing in mind deep square leg's not exactly on the boundary, is a good 15 to 20 paces off because of the size of that leg side boundary. As here comes Mills, he's in, and Briggs is forward and defends.
Two for 7, Mills. Some pleasing bowling figures being massaged here by the change bowlers.
He's here again. Short delivery and has been ducked by Briggs straight into the hands of Sam Billings.
Phil's going to move back in for a bit before head up towards lunch. Or the conclusion of this match, whichever comes first.
It could be anything. Here's Mills to Briggs, who's forward, defends wearily, and it's fielded back by Mills off his own bowling. Hello, Phil.
Hello, Nikki. It's
Here's Mills in, and it's caught. So Briggs has just top edged that. A very nothing looking shot. He looked to work it down through the leg side, and he's just gone very early on it, closing that bat face a bit too early, and you've got Mills just at the end of his runner, at the end of his follow through, just coming in and taking the catch. So that is 8 down now for Warwickshire, 104-8. He sat down and a wicket fell.
I know, Mike Taylor, I left it in perfectly good hands, 82 for 3. I gave it over to Mike Taylor. He loses 4 wickets in half an hour. I come back, not really having sat in the seat. And
Here's another one.
Well,
Yeah,
as a Warwickshire follower, and I'm sure it's been a hugely disappointing morning. And some of the dismissals have really were quite concerning. They bowl very well, Kent. They've got a good line, but
that one, just if you just waited a bit slightly longer and just played that under his eyes a bit, rather than playing it kind of in front of him and just closing the face of the bat slightly too early, maybe he would have just managed to have kept that on the floor.
It's a bit of a capitulation again. The middle order fell away. Really, it was built in the first innings around Sam Hain with a bit of support from Will Rhodes, but this time, once Will Rhodes went, he tried that shot 2 or 3 times. In the end, followed one down the leg side, got caught. Dan Moses had disappointing games, so has Michael Burgess with the bat, and now Danny Briggs follows with a very simple, soft, caught and bowled, and this could well be over by lunchtime.
Here's Mills, in he comes, and Miles is forward, just plays that a bit in front of him, and it's fielded by extra cover. No run. It is the end of the over. We've lost another wicket this over. Warwickshire 107 for 8 off 30 overs. Got a long way to go, and it doesn't look very hopeful indeed. It looks like there's a change of bowling from the pavilion end as well. We're going to have a bit of spin, and by the looks of it, it's going to be Joe Denley.
Well, we've not really had... we had one over from Leeming in the first innings, didn't we?
Yeah, haven't had much spin really.
First bowl Joe Denley's had.
Yeah.
So...
But clearly the Seamans have been doing all the work, so...
Yeah, it's pulling the over rate back now for Kent. That's what it is, as Mike says, as this one from Denley, his first ball brings Henry Brooks forward and just pushes it into the offside. So Kent need to get this over rate back again, and this will be Denley's role. Probably bowl through till lunch if he can, especially with this situation. I've got bags of time. This next one is chopped away into the offside. There's no run. And they're going through this over like an express train here, Denley. He's obviously got a train to catch itself. This next one driven. Brooks will get a single down to a wide-ish deep mid-off.
We've got Jack Leanings at mid-wicket.
Yeah, just both. Yeah, they are going to get both
just
on.
Warming up.
Yeah, so
pick up the over rate. Just
Mike absolutely right with that.
Denley's ready to go. Miles is not.
In he comes and bowls, gives that plenty of air. This is driven to short extra cover, but straight at the fielder. There's no run. Here comes Denley again in bowls, and driven down the ground, and Miles will get a single down to deep back mid off. 109 for 8. And in again, gives this a bit shorter. Forward comes Brooks, runs it away to extra cover. There's no run. And Sam Bidding there. Everybody's running round there, so they're definitely trying to get this through as quickly as they can. And
yeah, change of bowlers from the Birmingham City end, and it's going to be Jack Leaning.
don't know what Warwickshire ended up at, but they must have been behind on the over rate. Or did Briggs's overs get them back?
Here's Leaning. Miles just played that off the back foot, worked that through to mid-wicket. He's just had a bit of a misfield, and they managed to take a single off that.
Not sure quite where they finished up, Warwickshire.
Leaning's in again, bowls Nice fuller delivery, and Brooks has just come forward and defended that straight back down the wicket. And Leaning's like running back to the top of his mark. He's like racing. In he comes, he bowls. And again, Brooks is forward, defends. And Jack Leaning is running back to the top of his mark again. He's definitely been told, you've got to speed things up here. Here he comes, running in again. Bowls, slightly back, slightly just shorter delivery that one, but Brooks is still forward and defends that. And just fielded by mid-wicket, no run.
This is where a batsman should walk down the wicket and do a bit of gardening.
Just like break up the rhythm. As Leaning's in again, just moved his feet down the wicket a bit, Brooks, and just played that down to long on, and they've taken a single. Jack Leaning's again run back to the top of his mark, and like he's a man on a mission here. And it's already the last ball of the over, as here he is, bowls and just defended off the back foot by Bowles, and it's the end of the over. He's running off to get his cap from the umpire. Warwickshire 111 for 8. Bit of Nelson going on.
There's a few things with cricket which occasionally can make it a bit farcical, and this is one of those where you'll get players simply running round. If they can do this to get an over rate back, why can't they do it throughout the game instead of this funereal pace of overs which quite often takes place?
Yep.
So
that was the quick. I think that was like 45 seconds.
Denley starts a new over. It's into the offside, driven to extra cover. Flick straight back to Denley, who is running back to his spot, and in he comes again for his second delivery. He's in, he bowls. This is played to cover point, and there's no run. It's Brooks who is waiting as Denley comes in, bowls. Brooks plushes this to mid-wicket. There's no run. 111 for 8.
I'm going to time.
Mind you, they are 5
over.
behind on the over rate at the moment, so they're going to have to do this for a while. As this one is cracked away into the offside, they're going to get. Oh, they're going to just a single out to the extra cover boundary, but fielder out there doing the patrolling keeps Brooks down to a single. 112 for 8. As Denley comes in and bowls and back, across him, almost LBW there as Miles went back and in the end gets a little bit of bat onto it, which saves him, but he was legs akimbo as he was trying to push that one to the offside. It's Denley again in quickly, that's full, and this one is given a fairly hefty hoik by Miles down to.
And that's the end of the over.
Yeah, sort of deep, long on, and now their fielders are running in and out to get.
Billings is already behind the stumps on the other end.
Now the batsmen really want to actually get in control.
They want to slow it down here a bit, but otherwise it's going to be all in Kent's momentum here.
Yeah.
And they just want to stall it a bit. I'm going to time this one and see how long this over actually takes. And we go. Here's Leaning, in he comes, and just played off the back foot by Miles. No run. Just looking to work that into the leg side, but it's just ended up right in front of him.
Yeah.
Leaning's at the top of his mark, running in again. And just played off the back foot, cut down to deep point where Drummond has just fielded it and underarmed it back in to the fielder at extra cover. Taking a single there. Got Brooks on strike, who's just faffing around a bit with his pads, taking his time, as he should do, as Leaning's in again. He's down the wicket using his feet and plays that to mid-on, taking a single. Here he is, Leaning bowls. Again, use of the feet, just come down the track and worked it to mid-on. Come downing. Words getting in a twist. This over's going too quickly for me to keep up. And there was a single there. We've got Brooks on strike now. Here comes Leaning, and Brooks is down the ground and has just lofted that over the head of mid-on, and that has gone down to the boundary. It's 6. It's 6, and that's the big boundary.
Yeah, it's gone into the space behind where the covers are for the test wicket. That's where the sight screen goes in place, and slowed it down a little bit.
Leaning's in, and Brooks has just played that off the back foot down to deep point where Drummond is tumbling, and he's just stopped the ball And that's the end of the over. Warwickshire 123 for 8, and that over was 1 minute and 42 seconds. That was... I think it might make up for it if they just carry on with this.
Well, the Warwickshire batsmen, in all honesty, should actually take the time out and make them, and you know, just slow it down. To be honest, because they're being rushed. I know there's only 2 wickets to go, but they're
still being rushed ultimately. Yeah. Yes.
Denley starts a new over. He's in, and this is smoked away by Miles down to deep backward square leg, and they walk through for the single. Sorry, that was Brooks rather who hit that one. This is Miles who comes forward and pushes this one to short extra cover, and there's no run. 124 for 8. Then in again and bowls. This one again is steered. Oops, a couple of awkward bounces, but again to extra cover. Miles just steadies himself and gets ready as Denley's already on his way in. Miles goes back and chops this one away to backward points, but can't beat the infield. And there's no run. 124 for 8. Miles and Brooks just picking up a few easy runs here as this one, he brings Miles forward and he gets onto the pads and it runs away into the gully, but he was well down the track there. Unfortunately, he got something onto it to prevent that one going through to Billings. This one is clipped away nicely behind square and will go down to the fence. And finishes the over with a boundary, 128 for 8. Miles moves on to 9, Brooks is on 12. And Warwickshire, just the over rate has suddenly dropped down to -3 from -5.
I feel like they're doing their job.
Do you know, there's somewhere I don't get this over rate, and it seems to be at the figment of yeah, but how on earth, having finished at 7:30 on the opening day, that the over rate was still only about -1.
Here's the innings, slightly shorter delivery, and it has been played off the back foot by Brooks. And he's run back to the top of his mark again. A man with a mission, Jack Leaning, as in he comes and he's bowled again and again, defended to long on. Yeah, it just worked that softly actually off the back foot, played it down to long on, so he managed to nick a single there. Didn't really drive it, just a soft little nudge. And here's Leaning again, and oh, what's going on here? Leaning just bowled Miles forward and it's just literally just chipped it back to Jack Leaning, who's just taking a one-handed catch with his left hand. And that is the end of Miles.
129 for 9.
It happened a bit in slow motion, well, that, didn't it? Like,
it's almost, I think at this stage, with 70 overs to go in the day, and you know, all this time, the weather holding, and Warwickshire still needing shed loads of runs, it's almost like an inevitability, and there was the feeling, well, it's going to happen at any time, and there was not a single reaction from the...
There was literally no reaction, they're just like ready for the next batsman.
Fielders. It was just like, well, how long was it going to be before it happened? And
yeah, they're still waiting for the batsmen to make their way onto the pitch as well.
So the end of Miles, and it's... Warwickshire this morning really have been just capitulated. I'm going to let Ben come in because he wants to talk through to get Kent through to victory. So thanks very much, Nikki. Nice working with you, and we'll be back at Warwickshire's next home game.
I'll see you then, hopefully. See you soon. Hannon Dalby is just making his way onto the pitch. Kent are all in their fielding positions ready for this. I think they're hungry. Don't you think, Ben? They must be hungry for lunch.
I was kind of hoping they were going to take until after lunch to get those final 2 wickets, because then we could go have a lunch.
Do we not get lunch today,
Take a bit of a break, then go and do post-match. We got to go and do our interview with Navdeep Saini.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, that was a bizarre package of play.
Very, very strange. Here's Leaning, in he comes, and Hannon Dalby's just left that one just outside his off stump.
Still it continues as Leaning sprints back.
And in he comes in again. Hanon Dolby just left that again outside the off stump.
Mike Taylor pointing out from Warwickshire's point of view, it's probably better to just give it up.
Billings in, and again, same as the last one, just left outside the off stump. It's the end of the over. Warwickshire 129 for 9.
Because if you think about it from a league table point of view, any points that Kent get docked help Warwickshire potentially finish above them come the end of the season. And if these two end up getting sucked in by Somerset to a battle to stay out of the bottom two, then any points that Kent get docked for a poor over rate would be beneficial to Warwickshire, but they've managed to claw it back to -3. Joe Denley then, with Kent needing 1 wicket to win, in and bowling. So Brooks, who punches this down the ground for a single to Matt Milnes at long off. That was quite the catch by Jack Leaning, wasn't it? Just stuck out a left hand, kind of palmed it up, and then...
It was all a bit more like in slow-mo though, like it just
Caught
happened and then no one reacted.
We caught it on the rebound and then looked around as if to say, was I meant to catch it? Would you have preferred everyone for me to not, so we can get some over rate back? As Denley's in a bowling, a very loopy delivery, which Hanon Dolby is on the front foot and defending.
It's like, it's my natural reaction, but
yeah, he was
you're all looking at me as though I shouldn't have done it.
thinking, should I have dropped it on purpose? Denley bowls into a bit of rough outside the off stump and through to Sam Billings behind the stumps, quickly lobs it back to Joe Denley, who is already in and bowling the next ball to Hanon Dolby, defending this one back up the pitch. Billings scampers out from behind the stumps, lobs the ball to Joe Denley. Immediately as he's back in position, Denley's in and bowling wide of the off stump.
Was in the
Hanon
rough.
Dolby padding that one away. The over rate is back at -1 now. So, having been -5 15 minutes ago, and they needed 2 wickets to win, as this one's pushed away by Hanon Dolby out towards backward point, it is now just -1, and the score 130 for 9, and Kent are on the verge of not only winning the match, but eradicating any potential points they would lose for a poor over rate.
Yeah. They've literally like, what's the saying when you two birds, one stone. There we go. And a bit of a mind blank. As here comes Leaning, bowls, and just played off the back foot by Brooks. Picked up by Leaning as he's running back to his run up.
Well, the batter's just hit it straight back to the bowler there. He needs to whack it as far away as possible.
Whack it. Leaning's in, bowls, and it's just worked down to deep square leg here by Brooks. There's 1. They've literally just walked it.
The funniest one was when he deposited the big 6 and Matt Henry sprinted after it, and even after he got to the boundary rope he's still chasing it, grabbed it, lobbed it in as quick as possible.
Here's Leaning, bowls, and Hanon Dolby has just defended that softly to point. No run. Who do you think's going to take the wicket, Ben? Leaning's in, bowled, Hanon Dolby's forward, defends, and it's just picked up by mid-wicket, who's just like come running in and has just lobbed the ball back to Leaning, who is already ready to come in.
Potentially Denley to Brooks.
Okay.
Next
let's
over.
see. Leaning in, and Hanon Dolby's just left that one outside the off stump. Slightly shorter delivery, but he had no interest in playing that one. And he's in again, bowls, and Hanon Dolby's forward, defends, and it is the end of the over. Warwickshire 131 for 9 of 38 overs.
It must be weird as the umpires in this situation as well, because they, although everyone around them is moving so quickly,
They can only walk to us.
I mean, they are well within their rights to just move from square leg to into their standing position as, you know, as moderately as they wish.
Yeah, it would have been funny if you saw the umpires running now, wouldn't you?
Here's Denley in and ready to bowl. Brooks skipping down the pitch, but then playing this out towards point. And I must say, fair play to Warwickshire for not kind of taking on a bit of gamesmanship here and really trying to slow things down, as Denley lobs this one up. It's ended up being almost a Yorker length. Jordan Cox chasing it across some of the used wickets before throwing it back to Joe Denley, or is that Ben Compton? No, it is Compton. Big slog into the onside, and that's going over the head of the fielder. Away for 6 runs from Brooks, clearing that front leg.
That was a proper slog, wasn't it? Proper little hoik.
Mashing it over Daniel Bell-Drummond at long on. Here comes Denley again. He's going to try and attack him. He's going again, and he's got it again. Over the head of Bell-Drummond, into the spectators, who are ducking for cover down there. One gentleman who's got a couple of bags over his shoulder. I think they're going to move position.
He's moving. He's got up.
They realise they're in the firing line here at the moment. Milne's just doing a bit of warming up. I wonder if Kent feel like they might have done enough regarding hauling back the over rate. Denley in and bowls. Brooks goes for a massive swipe again and misses this time. Through it goes to Sam Billings. So if my prediction's going to be right, it has to be this ball, probably. It looks like Kent might be bringing about a bowling change shortly. 143 for 9, 27 for Brooks.
Oh.
Shout for LBW, but not given. And the end of the over for Denley, and maybe the end of that spin.
I was really hoping your prediction was going to come true there.
Tandem for Kent.
But I think you've done enough jinxing for one day,
I think I probably
you?
have.
I think you've done enough.
Yes. It looks like it might actually be Matt Milnes who's going to come on from the City end. And Kent abandon the spin, but it's done its job. They've absolutely rushed through, what, 8 overs there? 4 for Leaning and 4 for Denley?
Mm-hmm.
In a blink of an eye, really.
Super duper quick. And we've got Mills coming in from the Birmingham City end.
Noticeably, Navdeep Seni, who looked like he was warming up and wanted to come on and bowl, is not handed the ball because Sam Billings potentially trusts Matt Milnes to
finish it off.
Be a little bit quicker with his over 8.
Right, let's see. Could be the last ball, might not be. Here comes Milnes. It's a Hannon Dolby, it's bowled, and it's just worked through to the leg side, down to the deep square leg boundary, and that's 4.
I love watching Hannon Dolby bat. There's just this kind of style about him where he just doesn't seem flustered. That was just really nicely steered around the corner, almost with minimal effort, as if to say, yeah, I can play that.
It was actually
no
quite
worries.
a good cricket shot, wasn't it?
It really was.
A good cricket shot.
He's like, yeah, I'm fine out here, guys.
I'm sure Mills is not going to be happy with that. And in he comes, bowls, shorter delivery, just played off the back foot by Hannon Dolby. No run. Third slip just gone in to pick the ball up and give it a good shine. Maybe anything now. Yeah, it was Jack Leaning. That third slip just went in to collect the ball, give it a good shine. Maybe we'll just work magic this ball.
Yeah, Milne's back at the top of his mark. Going to come into Hannon Dolby here. 3 slips. Defended back into the covers by the number 11 for Warwickshire. Jordan Cox doing the fielding. Floodlights on. Kent came into this day wanting to take the final 8 wickets they needed to win the match. I don't think they'd have perhaps anticipated doing it quite so quickly. Getting through 7 in this session. And it was that burst actually by Milnes and Quinn in particular, the 4 in quick succession, which really brought about Warwickshire's demise, as this one's defended by Hannon Dolby. We've got just a few minutes until the lunch break, but presumably we will carry on with just 1 more wicket required. Navdeep Seni's having a lie down. I don't think that's quite what everyone had in mind when you're hauling back the over 8. It now proudly says almost level in capital letters on the scoreboard over on the far side. Over 8 level. As Milnes bowls, and it's edged to first slip, and that's the victory for Kent. It's held on to by Jordan Cox. Milnes ends with a 4-for, and Warwickshire are all out for 147. And after Kent themselves were skittled out for 165 on the first day, they've managed to turn this game in their favour. And the end, they walk away with what is a handsome victory, and an important victory between 2 teams that started out this match at Edgbaston in 7th and 8th in the division. And for Kent in particular, having subsided to that defeat at home against Northamptonshire last week, they needed to make this one count, and they have done with the home team. 147 all out, as Milnes takes that final wicket, and a win for Kent here in Birmingham.
What a game for them, isn't it? Big grins. Lots of big grins going on down there. They'll be very chuffed with themselves.
Yeah, lots of congratulating one another, high fives. Not only have they gone and won the game, they've rescued that over rate as well. Sam Billings, the captain, will be as pleased as punch.
Delighted. Well done to Denley and Jack Leaning for that.
Job well done by those two spinners, and Leaning took that wicket, of course, himself. Joining in the end, the wickets, 1 for Henry for 36, 2 for 39 from Senny, 4 for 11 from Matt Milnes, 2 for 20 from Quinn, none for 22 Denley, but got through those 4 overs very quickly. Jack Leaning 1 for 14, as Hannon Dalby, the last man out for 4, caught by Cox, heads off. The men to go today from the Warwickshire side of things. Saw Hayne depart for 16, Rhodes for 15, Mosley for 2, Burgess for 7, Sibley for 33, Danny Briggs for 10, Brooks ending a very commendable 27 not out, Miles out for 9, and then Hannon Dalby for 4. So 147 all out, and a victory for Kent by 177 runs here at Edgbaston over Warwickshire, who will be disappointed after that one. There'll be some, certainly in the dressing room after this, in the home team, there'll be some conversations and some discussions about where do they go from here after a disappointing, well, sort of 3 innings, having done their job so well in the first, with Hannon Dalby taking those 6 wickets. A record county championship, 12 catches as well behind the stumps for Sam Billings, the Kent captain, worth noting. But in terms of the points, Kent are going to walk away with the majority of them. You've enjoyed the final, well, day and a bit that you've seen in this match, Nikki?
Yes, I've enjoyed it. And initially, after looking at the scorecard on Tuesday, I didn't think I was going to get this far, let's be honest. So it's been great. Great performances, and especially the partnership between Cox and Denley was great to watch, and that really did help really build things for Kent, didn't it?
Certainly did. It helped set things up, and the bowlers have finished things up with the job today. Thanks very much to everyone that's been on commentary with us this week. Richard Wilford and Grace Ballinger, and Phil Britt and Mike Taylor and Nikki Chowdhury alongside me, Ben Watts. Kent will be back in action next week, heading up to Lancashire. I'm going to make way because Mike's going to have an update here, I think, for BBC WM. But online, we're going to leave you with the news that Kent have won this match against Warwickshire by 177 runs.